Hello friend, today I'm going to share lab-grown meat and the unknown meaning of emojis.
And I'm going to share about the ultimate chewing gum and a scary ancient monster. Let's get to it.
My cool sheet is going to be food. This is lab-grown meat. So this is wild. So we've talked about alternative meat quite a bit on Formal Cool Sheets. We've talked about Beyond Meat, all different kinds. You talked about Impossible Burger, I think. We've talked about how these plant-based alternatives to meat that really have that same texture and feel, and even some have fake blood. This is completely different. This is lab-grown meat. So this is actual meat that they grow in a lab, so no animals were killed. It's better for the environment. It could be the future meat, because meat is, I've always said that I don't think it's going to go away until we have no choice where we're all going to be vegan or vegetarian because we're just out. But this might actually solve that problem. The reason why it isn't a full cool sheet is because it's not really available for the public yet. And also just that idea of lab grown, is it safe? There's definitely, especially now that we're in a pandemic and all these questions that have been raised, there will be tons of backlash, I'm sure. But I am very curious to see how this develops. I asked my long-term vegan friend what he felt about it, since you weren't actually killing an animal. And this is a hardcore vegan, like 35 years, doesn't wear wool or leather, hardcore, true vegan. So I really value his opinion. He was like, sometimes they still talk about that's based on stem cell research, and so there's other things behind it that's you got to think about. But it could be an avenue for people that need meat. It's really interesting to me, lab-grown meat.
Yes, this is really interesting, and a lot of food for thought.
Yeah.
Well,
and you as a scientist too would probably get more than I even would right off the bat. I mean, certainly different.
In terms of the science, no problem. Like that tissue culture is something that's done all the time in research. So yeah, I can wrap my head around that. But then it does make me wonder, are we just perpetuating people oh yeah, I get meat, but then that will just keep them eating animals if that's the goal. But then there's so much good with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cheaper. It's certainly better for the environment.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And here's actually one of the really good things. It's going to make a lot of people a lot of money. These companies, so the big ones that I can find right now are Upside Foods, which is out of California, and Future Meats, which is out of Israel. So I'm glad that there's two different countries. It's not just one place trying to make this empire. So it is happening around the world. It's definitely going to make them billions and billions of dollars, the meat market, literally the meat market. So I feel like, that actually makes me feel better. Maybe there will be more research. It's just going to be weird knowing that you're eating meat from a lab. It's going to be, but it's also cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Welcome.
Yeah. My cool sheet is a product, and this is called Run Gum. It is a simple yet brilliant idea, and this is how it started. It's just this idea of infusing caffeine into chewing gum. It was co-created by Nick Symmonds, who's a two-time Olympic athlete, and his coach, Sam Lepre. It has since exploded. I don't remember when. I think it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But it has really exploded since they started it. And now the caffeine gum is just one of the lines. They call the energy line of gums. Tons of different flavors. But now additionally, there's the immunity line and the calm line that don't have caffeine in them, but instead they have other supplements like elderberry and probiotics are in the immunity one. And they're really thinking about people who want to have some way to get their caffeine in, for example, but they don't want to drink a whole bunch of coffee because they're going to go run or whatever the case may be. They just want to simply chew gum. So great idea, Run Gum.
Yeah, this is one of those things when I think maybe you first saw, or you introduced me to Nick, and then I quickly learned about his product here. And yeah, I was like, how have we not had this before? And I think there was an old school version of Buzz Gum or some kind of, but it didn't taste good. It was super rubbery and it was gross old school bazooka gum style, where this is like, it's good, and
Yes.
it does, like, it has caffeine in it. But I had no idea that he has all these other versions of it, or the Run Gum does. It's so cool. It's really neat.
It's really, really expanded. And it's probably this combination. Nick obviously is a dedicated athlete, and then he is also a chemist. He got his degree from Willamette University as one of my students, has his degree in chemistry. And so he was hell-bent, and him and his coach, on making a good product.
Yeah.
He really wanted it to be good. And so I think that is what has allowed them to then expand. And they're also very creative and all of that. So they've done a really good job.
Yeah, no, and it's so cool. Yeah, talk about taking two of your biggest passions and making them into a business. I mean, it's like the story, the origin story, everything about it is cool. Just everything about it is cool.
Yeah.
And it tastes good. So I have had some. I think I don't know if he gave me some samples or we just bought some for Hood Coast. And it was cool. Yeah, maybe he gave you some and then you.
Yeah,
gave it to
when
me
we
or
were talking
something
to
like
him
that.
about him doing TEDx Salem.
Yeah, exactly.
And so he gave some samples and all
Yeah.
that. And they've gotten
super cool.
even better. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Welcome.
that. If you want to check out all of our show notes at 10bestest.com/almost2021. I'm going to be talking about an article, and this article is how your emojis are being misinterpreted if you're texting people under 25. So again, I love this theme of seeing what those crazy kids are up to and how they're navigating life. I talked about it on TikTok and other articles, having friends with outside your age group, so many different things. And I had no idea that emojis are interpreted different by each generation. So millennials think of when you send them a smiley face to millennials, it might mean something totally different than how we intended it. And then when they send it to a Gen Zer, it's like an insult. It's wild to me. I had no idea. It does make you stop and think, though. Be a little bit more aware of how people interpret different things. It's a lot like life. Even though it's a silly thing, emojis, it's this like character, and even people in my generation kind of some poo-poo the whole idea of emojis. I think they're fun, and I'm even more interested to know how they have different meanings. So it'll take different meanings of, okay, this is what that means to Gen Z, and this is what they use instead to do what you were trying to do. It's very cool, it's entertaining, it's silly, it's eye-opening, and it kind of fits our theme about staying curious. So definitely check out this article, how emojis are being misinterpreted if you're texting people under 25.
this is great. I am definitely going to check this out because I know I do this. I know I do this. And actually, I think it's sometimes just me, like I'll choose an emoji that I think fits, but my brain is like somewhere else from the other person. And so
it's wild. Now here, okay, so one example that came to me right away is, the like laughing, crying emoji. That is like offensive to Gen Zers. But the sideways laughing one is the funnier one. So I've actually stopped using that because for no reason except for this article, and maybe it's just all a prank too, which would be even more funny. But it's wild, and I forget why, but it talks all about why they're offensive, what it can mean. A lot of it though is for like serious things like racial background, things like that. Some of them are really super interesting in that aspect, and I do want to change how I use them on those reasons for sure.
Ooh, I want to run this past not just my kids, but also my college students.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
My cool sheet comes from natural history, and I gotta say, this is pretty much the opposite of the thing that I talked about in my best of, where I talked about the tardigrade, the moss piglet, that is tiny, it's microscopic, and it's cute. This instead is from the Eocene, so this doesn't exist anymore, kind of, thank God. And it's a proto-whale, but this thing has a very different vibe to it. So I do love learning about extinct creatures, and especially ones that I've never heard of, and this one definitely fits that bill. So its jaw was discovered, the bones of its jaw was discovered in the Sahara Desert, which used to be at the bottom of the ocean, which I didn't know that either. And this jaw showed that this thing was literally a monster, that it would tear apart its prey with these huge, strong jaws, kind of like a T-Rex, but it was also aquatic. So basically it could attack and eat anything on land or sea. I cannot pronounce the scientific name of it, but basically it's like a big elephant whale with T-Rex jaws, if you can imagine that. So this is this Eocene proto-whale.
Whoa, that sounds super awesome and super scary.
I know.
And yeah, I need to check that out.
Yes.
Did they show like what they thought it looked like?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, no, this picture is just, like I said, the elephant comes from the legs, but then this jaw,
My gosh.
it's totally
Plus
bizarre.
The water, wow. Sounds
Yeah.
like the scariest thing ever.
I know.
But also cool. Thank you for joining us, friend. I'm Brian Hart.
I'm Karen McFarland Holman.
Let us know in the comments, would you eat lab-grown meat?
And let us know, what do you think of the idea of caffeine in gum?
If you're enjoying the show, give us a like and share with a friend.
Stay tuned next week for another great series of shows.
And don't forget to stay curious.